Hey guys, my name is Alonzo Mendoza. I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about my client consulting project. The company that I chose to follow is Trust Inc. Trust Inc. is a multifaceted corporation that operates in the commercial services industry. Specifically, Trust Inc. offers janitorial services, maintenance services, construction, painting, and security services. So a pretty broad stroke package of services for any commercial property investor. Um, we service buildings like office buildings, research buildings, medical supply, manufacturing buildings, luxury apartment buildings, and shopping centers, including malls. So, just kind of a short history of the company. The company was founded by Will Mendoza in 1988, 2 years before I was born. Will Mendoza is my dad. He's the founder and president CEO of the corporation currently. In 1998, they kind of broke out and signed their largest client since inception. So about 10 years down the road, 10 years of growth brought them to their first largest client, and that was Dominican University, located in San Rafael. Before that time, they were basically operating specifically out of small office buildings, maybe 10 to 15 different suites total. So relatively small in the commercial services world. Dominican University is a massive contract. It's a $1 million contract per year. So that was a huge point in growth for the company, and they were able to invest heavily after that period. So after signing that contract in 1998, 2004, the company moved from San Rafael to Richmond. They started to develop a larger client base in the East Bay and in San Francisco. So it made a little more sense logistically to be located in Richmond, which is close to the 80 freeway. In 2005, the company partnered with Forbes Security. Basically they partnered with a supervisor that used to work at a large security corporation to create their own smaller corporation to service their existing client base. So they were looking to drill down a little bit into the market and provide a broader package of services at that point. In the same year, they also partnered with a local painter, Peter Ogden, and created a subsidiary called Ogden Decor and Design, and they specialized in residential and commercial painting services. So any shopping center or office building or luxury apartment building that was already an existing client of Trust Inc. would be able to access painting and security services circa 2005. Now, in 2008, there was another large acquisition. Trust Inc. bought a controlling stake in a small to medium construction company called JAC Construction. One of their largest clients is Ed Catmull, who is the co-founder, I should say, of Pixar. He's one of the most wealthy people in the country, and JAC Construction has done and continues to do lots of work with him and a little bit with his company, but mostly him. Now, in 2008, in the same year that they acquired JAC Construction, Trust Inc. also started and founded their own real estate investment company. Now, what was interesting about that is that this is something that is connected to what they do. However, this was their own investment company, essentially, where they parked a lot of their assets. So they took a lot of cash, basically a lot of their profit, and invested it into residential property throughout the North Bay and a little bit in the Tahoe Truckee region. Now, these properties were not luxury short-term rentals like a lot of people do today. They, buy a property and then rent it out on Airbnb. The idea was to buy properties and to rent them out for long periods of time in a way to park money, but also gain a sizable return on their investment. And because of the amount of cash business that MBM did, it made a lot of sense tax-wise to, instead of, just have a large bank account, it was much better to park it in something that they had a lot more control over. Now, in 2013, probably the most recent major event, I actually started working at Trust Inc. So I came a little bit late to the party, but quickly Started out as a residential property manager under the Cisco Properties subsidiary, and shortly thereafter jumped into the accounting department of Trust Inc., working with our 5 different companies, and it is now 2019, so about 6 years since my start of employment with the corporation. I'm now the accounting director. So, little fun fact for you guys there. So the next thing we're going to talk about is one of the issues that's facing the company at the moment, and part of the reason why I decided to do this project. Hold on a second, my dog's drinking a lot of water and being really loud. Lola. Sorry, we're just going to try and do our best to talk over her. She's finally. So, one of the issues that Trust Inc. has faced in prior years is a lack of revenue diversification. So basically, Trust Inc. over the years has dealt with a lot of very large property management companies and real estate investment trusts. And these companies, some of them are publicly traded. They are very large corporations that operate nationally or regionally at the very least. So beyond the North Bay, most of them operate in all of California or all of the Western region or all of the country. Now, the problem with that is that a lot of these companies are very susceptible to systematic market changes. So if there's any large dip in the economy, we could always expect that the budget for the coming year for this company, depending on the losses that they took, would affect the company directly. And dealing with primarily and over 50% of the revenue stream, meaning primarily being these corporations, it had a really big effect on the bottom line for Trust Inc. So something that they brought me in to do, or something that I proposed to them and they agreed with, is to build a little bit more diverse, broad stroke line of revenue streams focused on smaller businesses, not corporations, mom and pops, small stores located in high traffic areas such as downtown Petaluma, downtown San Rafael, and downtown Novato. Now, as evidenced by the 2008 economic collapse, there's definitely a susceptibility for this type of market downturn. And unfortunately, a company like Trust Inc., providing janitorial services and improvement services, we suffered pretty heavily around 2008, totally buckled down and became very frugal with the expenses in the corporation, and that kind of helped them weather that economic downturn. But kind of coming out of that recession, definitely the company is looking to develop a better plan for something that inevitably will happen again in the future. So what I proposed to them was to develop a sales structure and a strategic plan for Trust Inc. to follow in developing their market presence in the Sonoma Marin market, which they haven't quite drilled down in the last 30 years. So specifically, the solution that I propose to Trust Inc. and to their subsidiaries is that they develop a targeted marketing and sales team with the express goal of developing business relationships within the North Bay real estate investment trust and property management community. So this sales and marketing team, I'm sure right now it's not going to start out as a team. It's going to be just me. But, in the future, the goal is to have a team that would specialize in addressing the needs of micro business owners. And it would focus on creating both volume and diversity of industries served. So meaning, we would help an office building that housed a bunch of accountants. We would try to develop relationships with a bakery that's next door to an antique shop that's next door to a bank. So, getting involved with a couple different revenue streams, a couple different industries would definitely help insulate from some of the systematic risk that the company faces every day and every year. One of the main targets of the campaign would be the small restaurants in high traffic areas, like I mentioned, such as downtown Petaluma, Novato, and San Rafael. And the types of services that we would look to offer would be, sidewalk steam cleaning, window washing, power washing of storefront or patios, interior floor cleaning and refinishing, roof cleaning, lighting repair, superficial building repairs, painting. Security is kind of outside of that realm, but we would offer it. Now, all of those things are things that we already offer to our larger clients, and we have a team of contractors and also employees that we work with throughout the year, as well as some companies that we third party out work to. Um, and we would basically just redeploy some of those assets towards the North Bay and Sonoma, which we're not generally doing right now. Now, compensation wise, something that is of course important to any sales team is, what are they taking home from this? So what I developed was kind of a very basic market rate of salary. So 48,000 a year, which is a bit below what an entry level salesperson would be. But then of course the incentive is to go out and make sales. So it'd be 3% of the annual contract they would receive as a commission on top of their 48,000 a year salary. And they would receive that after 3 months of service. So they'd have to execute a contract with a client, and basically 3 months from that time, if the client was still happy and willing to renew the services, then the company would pay them 3 months of that service, assuming that they would receive obviously much more throughout the year. So one of the outlooks that I have for the project is that obviously right now, very much in the planning stages. I'm still in school. I would be the head of the sales team going in. I can't realistically start that until after I graduate. Fingers crossed, hoping that actually happens. So that would be in just a couple weeks here. And I would take on that role simultaneously with my current accounting director position. So I think that offers us a little bit of performance analysis capability. I'm always in front of a computer and I'm constantly doing performance reports for the operations of the company. It wouldn't be too far of a stretch to think I could do the same for the sales team once that actually developed to scale. My expectations for the project are really high because there's a consistent demand for commercial services in all geographic retail and office spaces. So basically, any shopping center needs janitors. Every office building needs someone to come in and clean the floors. And right now, a lot of companies, they don't want to spend a ton of time, researching how they should find a janitor. They basically just open up the book, and whatever's convenient, whoever seems like a good person, they just go out and hire those people until, whatever reason that they would, terminate that contract. So that's kind of the way the market works right now. There's not a lot of sales done in this industry, so we'd be really looking to penetrate that market. Because the needs for janitorial and maintenance services are so broad, it's usually dominated by a super oversaturated market. It's very fragmented. There's a ton of different service providers in every geographic area, but what the difference is that we operate through most of California. So our expenses would be relatively low per client. We'd be able to offer a better rate. My belief is that, over the 30 years of expertise in the industry on a larger scale, this foray into the market would further drill down some opportunities that are not so market sensitive for TrustInc. This service will further diversify TrustInc's revenue streams in conjunction with their internal property investment company, Cisco Properties, as I mentioned before. So the idea here is basically, this is a successful company. They're doing great. They're continuing growth, and honestly, we're actually doing less revenue per year, but somehow have maintained the same profit margin by consolidating a lot of the services between the 4 or 5 companies. So I'm the accounting director for all 5. Originally, there might be 5 different accounting departments. So in terms of personnel costs, which is most of the costs of the company, is labor, we've definitely drilled that down to a much more manageable rate, fee, expense, whatever you'd like to call it. So that's our project. That's my project. It was really fun doing it. This is something that I thought was a great idea, since before coming to college. This has definitely given me the framework to sell this opportunity, to the business owners that are involved, with a much more structure involved. You can imagine I'm a young person with a lot of ideas without any structure, though. Nobody's willing to throw a lot of money at it. So expectations very high for the project. All right. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a great day.